would you like to do the honors and introduce these two players, Liaison?
I am happy to. Waystation is our map, as you mentioned, and it looks like we will be having the longer spawns here in the top left-hand corner representing Evil Geniuses. It's the blue Protoss player. It's HuK. And in the bottom right, representing Team Liquid, a bit of a rivalry between these two teams in the North Americas, and they're representing them quite admirably, I must say. It's the red Zerg player. It's Snute.
So I think, probably luckily for Snute, they haven't spawned in the close positions. That would be rather stressful for him, I'd imagine. Instead, they are in the long spawn positions, which in theory makes this 4-gate play that has been preferred by HuK in the last couple of matches less effective. But it's still a 2-spawn position map, and it still worked very, very well. So it's going to be incredibly exciting to see whether Snute actually goes for the adjustment in his playstyle.
Yeah, and what's good from HuK's perspective, though, on these spawning positions is, again, he's not going to be scouted for a little while, and if Snute wants to check out what he's doing in any sort of urgency, he's going to have to do it with a drone. So, you know, Zerg players, if you talk to them, they would love to get their scouting information without sending drones out onto the map, and he might have to do that here. He is, though, quite comfortable, I think, just going with his 15 pool, getting the his natural down a quick third. The third here, though, on this map with these positions can be tricky to defend for the Zerg.
Yeah, you've got the choice of this kind of prong island here. But the downside of that is it's got a lot of open airspace to it. It's quite a long way away from your natural. Alternatively, you go down to the lower left, but there you've got an even longer distance to try and get back to as well. It is obviously leading to what could be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, and it's Nexus first coming down on the back end for HuK, followed by the Gateway, and we seem to have, at least for the moment, entered back into a relatively similar stretch to what we had in our first 2 games on those bigger maps, Frost followed by Altazim Stronghold, but HuK is taking those relatively quick gases again in his main base.
So, with this gas coming down yet again, there's a couple of options available to HuK. He could be going for that kind of 3-4 gate pressure that we've seen previously. He could also opt to get down earlier tech if he so decided to. Cancels one of the gases though. This is really significant, the fact that gas went down. It is highly probable now that we're going to be seeing a very aggressive Zealot-based composition. There is the potential for a much earlier and super fast third Nexus, but my money would be on the Zealots here.
We're going to have to see what he does go for. He has the Cybernetics core and the Gateway finishing at his front, so he's not going for a Forge or anything along those lines. Snute, though, as we kind of touched on earlier, well, it's nothing new, nothing different for him. It's more of the same, it seems.
Snute doesn't have to worry too much as of yet. He does have a bit of time remaining, but if he skips that Roach Run, and it is the Zealots, we'll wait and see whether the Chrono Boost gets spent on the Cybernetics core or not. This could be very, very tense. There is a lot of energy banked up on that Nexus, so I'm waiting to see where he goes. Okay, with that coming down, it's almost definitely going to be a lot of gateways now into pressure. Snute needs to get this Roach Warren. It's something that he didn't do in the last game, and it arguably cost him that map.
Yeah, and he's going to get the second gas now. Oh, but these 2 Lings come in. They're going to see the Chrono on the Cybercore, and then they're going to get in as well. So the Stalker trying to deny as much information as possible. It's not going to deny it all, and if anything, it's going to delay some of this pressure coming out here from HuK, but he's continuing to Chrono. He's forcing it out, and I wonder here if we're going to see something more than just 4 gateways coming out from HuK.
It could well be. It's easy to put on a lot of pressure. That second gas, did Snute see that second gas come down? He saw it getting taken. Interesting that that's on its way. A lot of Lings in production. Snute knows that the pressure is going to be inbound. No pylon out on the map as of yet. There's one probe right down to the corner, at the very south of the map, but not getting any closer as of yet. So I'm very curious what HuK is going to decide to do with this.
And we do see 3 more gateways going down in the back of HuK's base, as well as a 4th gateway here. So 6 gate pressure coming out off of this 2 base play here from the Protoss. And yeah, all these Lings coming out. Speed isn't done yet, but you know, you kind of ask yourself, has he made too many Lings too soon here just to deal with this small force? The bigger force is going to come later, and he's delayed his drones for it.
And there isn't really any force coming through yet because there isn't a proxy pylon. The probe only just now coming forward, going to sneak it right in front. And because Snoot's already out on the map, he's going to be looking everywhere but right on his doorstep for that pylon.
This is actually really, really sneaky from HuK. That probe, I have no idea how it didn't get scouted. These Lings are going to come in. They're going to try and get something done. But again, it's that wall with the sentry, the couple gateways there. And it's really a tough position to breach here for just Zerglings with the, well, that play. And 26 more Lings on the way. There are 6 Zealots warped in. They're going to try and take down this pylon. Another Zealot is going to come in and join the party here. The pylon could fall, but oh, there's a lot of Queens here as well, and Queens may save the day. A time warp goes down, slowing down all of those speedy Lings, but they've gotten pretty good surrounds. This trade looks like it's going to go in favor of Snute, who may have finally found a way to stop this aggression.
One of the pylon goes down. Of course, there is the second one to the south position. In overall, the resources lost, HuK is losing a substantial amount more than Snute at the moment, and those Queens were an incredibly important unit to have in the composition for Snute. It gave him that extra beat, that additional damage output. Again, getting the complete surround on a lot of these Zealots. The Queen's able to engage as well. The Mothership Core needs to be careful. Moves on back and should be able to get to safety. But that defense from Snute was substantially better than the other games we've seen this early gateway pressure from HuK.
Yeah, and I think the extra Queens are kind of the unsung heroes of this build here for Snute. It's been a change that he's made, a very conscious choice, kind of an evolution type play from him, and getting those extra Queens out, as you said, they really supplement damage wise those Lings that surround and capture those Zealots, and the Queens kind of help them finish out the deal. So really nice play there from Snute. He's got a lot of Lings to maintain map control, and now he can get well, 5 Overlords do pop out. He's still going to drone up behind this.
He needs to drone quite heavily as well, because he's only at 50 drones at the moment on these 3 bases. Need to substantially increase that, unless of course he wants to try and end this game quickish. Looking at the production from HuK, he's moving across the map, doesn't have anything really in the way of tech, only that forge down, although no sign of a +1 anywhere. With 10 roaches coming through, Snute is looking to be in a good position as this move out from HuK advances forward.
Yeah, and with speed on the way as well, you got to think that if Snute can trade favorably in this engagement, he's going to be looking for the counterattack, or at the very least, to keep HuK on 2 bases here. These sentries and stalkers find a really nice kind of positioning at this Xel'Naga tower, but they're going to move on out. A lot of roaches, a lot of Lings on the way, though, and with Burrow coming out as well, well, Snute seems primed to move forward with this roach-intensive play.
In he comes now, a lot of those Lings wrapping around. The force fields were late to the party, prevents those speedlings from getting up close. Some of the roaches being zoned away, unable to engage at first, but already so many sentries have died here, Liaison. HuK is very low on the ground in terms of units. Meanwhile, Snute is doing nothing but pumping out more army. Roach speed, 10 seconds away from completion. He's going to be able to chase down this force, picking off the last couple of sentries. The Queens just doing so much as they have all of this game for the Liquid Zerg. And HuK is coming up against a bit of a wall.
Yeah, just really nice play there from Snute, forcing HuK really between a rock and a hard place there. He either had to force field off the roaches on the right side and get surrounded by the Lings, or force field off the Lings and then get hugged up by the roaches. He chose to do, well, the former there, getting the Lings in, surrounding his sentries, and this is kind of what we talked about in the previous game on King Sejong Station, where HuK struggled. It was because he just didn't have the force fields to section off this army. It seems like he's in that position again. He's got 2 sentries just warped in back at home, are his only 2 sentries on the map.
The roaches now moving forward, trying to find just a little bit more damage. We'll find a stalker at that watchtower. Again, a nice little pick off there. Back at home for HuK. He's got a couple of sentries. Grand total of actually 2 at the moment, with 1 more warping in. A handful of stalkers. +1 is done for him now. But Snute is in a very comfortable position.
Yeah, Snute's in a great spot. He's in a really nice position here with these stalkers trapped behind the wall to pick off some of these gateways. Chronoing out desperately an Immortal here. He needs it to finish for any hope of holding off this aggression, but you get the feeling Snute's perfectly content just pushing back, keeping HuK on 2 bases, maybe getting down a Hydralisk Den in the near future, continuing to wait for his roach reinforcements to come forward, and then trying again.
HuK getting the Observer out. He's going to be able to see Burrow, and this is really important for him. It makes it a lot less useful for Snute here. Meanwhile, there is a pylon down over at Snute's side of the map, but Snute, he's happy pumping nothing but roaches. Adding in the Hydra Den now, just as this game goes a little bit longer. He's sitting at 60 drones in a comfortable spot. HuK, on the other hand, attempting to take this third Nexus, and he really needs it. At 14.5 minutes, it's essential it gets up.
Yeah, and this is something we talked about kind of from Snute's perspective very early on in the game, but I'm, fairly confident saying it's holds true from HuK's perspective in this stage in the game. Holding this third base is not the easiest in the world for him. If he gets pulled towards that bottom side of the map, Snute can sneak in speedlings, he can push small bunches of roaches towards the top, can pick off reinforcing immortals, whatever it is. But, suddenly, HuK is in a tricky spot. The infestation pit's coming down. It looks like Snute perfectly happy going back into some of those Roach Hydra swarm host type plays that we saw from him before. We know how comfortable he is doing that.
I'm really actually excited to see if we do get those swarm hosts down, how they'll start going, but we may actually not, because a hive just coming out very quickly. This could be instead just for very quick Vipers to come out onto the field, and just mainly opting to get a couple of abducts down should there be any Colossi in this composition. But look at the army supply liaison, 143 to 73 in Snute's favor.
That's absolutely huge, and in comes that army of Snute trying to get in. The force fields, well, they're good as far as slowing down Snute's army, but it seems like there is too much. Really nice focus fire taking down 2 of those immortals. He'll wait for the force fields to expire and probably think about coming back in again, but just whittling down those numbers here is really nice for him. And we got a little bit of lag coming out, but not a big deal. Either way, more roaches reinforcing, +1 attack on the way for those Roach Hydras coming out from Snute. And yeah, as you mentioned it, Vipers, I think, even without abducts, just blinding cloud on this army is very strong too.
It will be. There's no blink either, so the Stalkers couldn't easily get out of that. I don't know if we're going to get that far though, because Snute's army is still just overwhelmingly greater than that of HuK's. Look at HuK's position, very defensive. Amazingly, Snute hasn't discovered the third bases there, because ideally for him, he'd want to send a small group of units over just to deal with that, but engaging in now, the force fields are not grabbing that many units out of this engagement. Doing better now, but there's roaches coming from all sides. The concave, much better for Snute once these force fields dissipate. HuK trading alright, but there's just so much Zerg here.
Yeah, he traded well at the beginning of that fight, but once those force fields expired, Snute's army was able to come in and seal the deal. He's 1 win away from securing his, well, what would be his $300 share of this $400 prize pool for our best of 9 show match tonight. He's up 4 games to 3.